they worship Satan. The third is that they don't believe in God because they're afraid of suffering the consequences. The fourth is that Hitler and the Nazis were atheists. And the fifth one is that people, like atheists, just want to continue sinning. So not believing in a God will mean that they're not sinning. And so for the first one, that atheists have no morals because they don't believe in anything, it's kind of stupid, because morals are defined in by the society that someone is brought up in. An example would be pre-Civil War America and southern states which allowed slavery. Those who lived in a southern society and were plantation owners saw slavery as fine because slaves benefited their economy and they thought their gain was okay, even if it was at the expense of others. Now, since the North won the Civil War, we can all agree that slavery is one of the worst things in America. Fun fact, Southerners who pressed for tolerance of slavery used the Bible as an example to condone it. People in the 50s and through 70s used the Bible as an excuse to not allow interracial marriages, and now people are trying to use that exact same book to not allow gays to marry. Calling an atheist immoral for not believing in the Bible is absurd because it condones rape, misogyny, incest, and slavery. The Bible, and homophobia, actually. In the Bible, God has killed multiple people for stupid reasons. Examples include Sodom and Gomorrah and the flood story. He divided people for wanting to get closer to God, aka the Tower of Babel, where languages came to be about. And he has ruined a guy's life to win a bet with the devil. Book of Job, if you want. The Dark Matter 2525 did a video on that. I highly recommend you watch it. I'll probably post a link in the description. Not to mention that the Bible contradicts itself in multiple accounts because it was written by multiple people over a long period of time. On a final note, it is a book that teaches you if you disagree with God by not believing in Him or not doing what He wants you to do, you will spend an eternity in hell being tortured. Moral of the story is that if you're indoctrinated to believe that something is wrong, you will grow up believing that that thing is wrong. Whereas people who grew up thinking something was okay, they'll grow up believing that thing was okay. Number 2 is that atheists are Satanists, actually. No, this is kind of funny, actually, because atheists don't believe in the devil, so why would they believe in it? Atheists just don't believe in Satan. Some may argue that being a LaVeyan Satanist is a branch off of atheism, and it kind of almost is. LaVeyan Satanism came around in the 1950s, 60s-ish, I believe it was the 60s, by Anton LaVey, and basically his book, this Satanic Bible, which I highly recommend you read and, look into, it is phenomenal. I think it is extremely cool, some of the things that they say in it, because it is so much better than Christianity. It is. Because it's a lot more, justifiable towards people. LaVeyan Satanism is almost an extreme form of humanitarianism, and it kind of, whereas Christianity says, turn the other cheek, LaVeyan Satanism basically, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, Code of Hammurabi, because I'm a history nerd and I love that shit. The third misconception is that people don't believe in God because they don't want to suffer the consequences, which Dark Matter 2525, I always say 2525, it did a video on, and it's a pretty funny video, and I'm actually stealing one of the scenarios from that video. But just try to picture yourself skydiving, but you don't have a parachute. If you just stop believing in the ground, then obviously you won't suffer the consequences of smacking the ground. That's absurd, right? Atheists don't believe in a God mostly because they can't fathom the idea of a God, or they disagree with the idea, or they just don't want to believe because that's how they were brought up. Part of the reason that I'm an atheist is because up until 4th grade, my parents never told me anything about God, and the only reason I know about it is because I went to a Catholic school. So then in 6th grade, I was like, wait a minute, I don't really believe in this. This is kind of dumb. So that's really why most people don't believe in God. The fourth one, which is that Hitlers and the Nazis were atheists, is kind of funny because most of the Nazis are Christian. Hitler, the leader of the Nazis, was also a Christian who believed that he was doing God's will. Many Nazis many Nazi items were inscribed with Bible quotes, and many Christian symbols were used during Hitler's regime. A fun fact: for thousands of years before the Holocaust, Christians blamed the Jews for like a majority of the problems that happened. For example, Christians blamed the Jews for Jesus' crucifixion, and they also blamed it for the Black Death, which killed off a third of Europe. So, and the last one is that atheists just want to continue sinning, which kind of mirrors number 3, where like atheists just don't want to suffer the consequences. Sin is a man-made concept, as is the Bible, because it was written by man, who are said to be inspired by the Holy Spirit. It's something funny about this because oracles during the time of the Greeks and Romans lived in palaces, and usually those were by mountains and volcanoes. And so, because they lived by volcanoes and by mountains, which are kind of like, a lot of them are dormant volcanoes, a lot of them would become intoxicated because of the gases that like came out of the ground or came from the volcanoes, and they would have like all of these like hallucinations, and those hallucinations would often be seen as they'd be seen as visions. Most people today can agree that those are silly, that is just like silly or something like that, or stupid, because they were drugged, basically. But when people say that the writers of the Bible were inspired, it's completely fine. I don't know why people do this, but I personally think it's because Christianity is a dominant religion in the world. It's either the first or second most popular, I forgot which one, and that religions during the time of the Greeks and Romans have died out. So, yeah. This is kind of like a crappy video, so really rushed. But anyways, I hope you enjoy it, and I hope that it made some sense, so yeah, bye.